Okay, so Disha and I work as clinical research assistants at the moment. Our team conducts several registry studies and interventional studies. Registry studies tend to be more survey based, and interventional studies typically provide a new treatment drug. So today's episode speaks of a woman who created a brand new drug that went through clinical testing almost entirely in secret in order to become one of today's very popular treatments of breast cancer.
Also, Eva gave me bangs this weekend.
They look so great, right? Please lie to me in the comments.
Intro! Okay, so Dora Nellie Richardson was born on June 1st, 1819, and was born 1919 and was born in Wimbledon, London, home of the famous Wimbledon tennis. Little is known about her early life, but we do know she wanted to study chemistry because of a visit to a cancer hospital where her grandmother received treatment. Again, I'm real confused how they knew about cancer back in the day, but anyways.
Late stage, usually.
In 1938, Dora enrolled... Dora?
1939? I'll bring this closer for you.
Well, it's not even that. My brain... I'm looking at the numbers. My brain's just not processing them.
It's funny.
In 1939, Dora enrolled in the University College of London to study chemistry, which was a field dominated by men at the time. She was one of the few women in her program, and she was not allowed to go to networking events or be part of societies that could help her grow her early career. Not to mention, during when she was going to college, World War II did not make things any easier. But during her senior year, the German bombing campaign, aka the Blitzkrieg, intensified and forced students of UCL, University College of London, to evacuate to Wales. Despite challenges, she completed her undergrad in 1941 and went to pursue a career in synthetic chemistry.
In the 1940s, female chemists faced systematic barriers such as limited job opportunities, the lack of upward mobility, lower wages, and, the expectation to leave their jobs upon getting married. Dora struggled to find a job in an academic setting after graduation because of these issues. It wasn't until 1943, so 2 years after graduation, that she joined the dyestuffs division at the Imperial Chemical Industries, aka the ICI, which was a leading British chemical company that is now part of AstraZeneca. Here, she became one of few senior female chemists. She was determined to advance in her field, so while working at ICI, she earned her PhD, focused on organic chemistry, in 1952, with a dissertation on the synthesis of heterocyclic compounds. At ICI, Dora first contributed to the synthesis of anti-malarial compounds that were basically essential to the British war effort, so nobody got malaria.
In 1959, Dr. Arthur Walpole, not to be confused with the tadpole, was a leading researcher in hormone-based therapies at ICI, and he recruited Dora to join his team. Around this time in the world, there was a larger interest developing other forms of contraceptions. In the 1960s, the American pharmaceutical company named Searle launched the first oral contraceptive. Dr. Walpole became head of the ICI's new fertility regulation division in the same year and was focused on developing contraceptive pills. Dora began experimenting with triphenylethylene classes of compounds, which was primarily known as anti-estrogens. Dora synthesized a compound known as IC46474, which is also known as tamoxifen. She was able to make it using geometric isomerism as part of a project that was trying to develop a contraceptive pill. Side note, it sometimes confuses me that sometimes to some people that will sound like a jumbled mess, and 4 years ago that would have sounded like a jumbled mess to me, but I actually understood what that said.
I know, it's kind of wild. Yeah, go take organic chemistry, super fun.
That was a horrible class. I hated it.
Yeah, so tamoxifen was the first selective receptor modulator, aka a SERM, SERM, and Dora's efforts were formally recognized in 1965 with the UK patent insert number here. If you want to go look it up, it's 109993. But this drug was not great at suppressing ovulation. Matter of fact, it was a terrible contraceptive pill. Didn't work at all. It didn't suppress ovulation, but rather stimulated it.
Imagine being like, hey girl, this is gonna stop you from being pregnant, and then you pop out like 17 more children.
Right, exactly. But at least, like, with quickly soon after the fact, they did not use it for contraception. They did not give it to people. However, again, further research revealed that the drug was able to inhibit estrogen-sensitive tumor growth with very little side effects. So it was a potential breast cancer treatment. Initial trials of tamoxifen as a breast cancer treatment showed great promise. It reduced estrogen receptor positive tumors, so it's like a very specific type of breast cancer. It was an entirely new approach for the time, and it was groundbreaking. When Dora synthesized tamoxifen, there were no other drugs out there that specifically targeted the organs of the reproductive system. The goals of Dr. Walpole and Dr. Dora Richardson, because don't forget she's a doctor, she has her whole PhD, but their goal was to take tamoxifen and test its efficacy. They were going to test how well it worked on people with advanced breast cancer.
At a clinical trial in 1970, tamoxifen, which went by the brand name Nolvadex, was given to 60 late-stage breast cancer patients. In 10 weeks, the drug had shrunk the tumor significantly in 40 of the women with minimal side effects. This was with no chemo, no surgery, just anti-estrogen drug therapy. The research team was so excited, and there was a recover paper written by Dora that spoke about this trial. She wrote, quote, "Patients with breast cancer treated with Nolvadex felt capable of doing a day's work." Okay. I suppose because, like, they were terribly ill, and then they were like, okay, I can work again.
Right.
It just sounds a little funny.
Yeah.
But I also know that, like, the way that they spoke back in the day, it doesn't make sense to
Like,
us
I
as
think,
much.
like, daily life, like, not
Yes.
necessarily that they were actually
Right, yes. So this was monumental in improving the quality of life for patients that normally felt incapable of doing anything at all. Getting reports of women who were able to leave the hospital without being back for pain from their cancer was very encouraging. They realized that this drug would be the beginning of an entirely new type of treatment.
So, even though the results of this first trial in 1970 were promising, the development of tamoxifen was considered slow for the time in terms of reaching clinical trials, which, like, at work I feel like we kind of see like how long this takes sometimes.
Yes.
And I feel like a couple of years is not that bad.
No.
But for them, I guess they wanted like quick turnaround, and
like we've
they
had
weren't doing
studies that have been going on for like 20 years
right.
at our site. Like if you have a trial that's done within like 2 years, that's speedy.
Like that's insane. But yeah, they were like, this isn't happening fast enough, even though it hasn't been that much time. But so what did the company do? If you were ICI, what would you do? Would you maybe hire more researchers and create a new team to understand the drug quicker? Because, like, remember, this is a potential, like, life-changing, world-changing cancer treatment drug. Hire more people? Maybe not. Would you push for clinical trials after the positive result? Maybe not. Or would you maybe cancel the entire research altogether? Cancel it? Why on earth is that even an option? Well, because that's exactly what they did. They were like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Cancer, we don't care about cancer. They wanted to find an anti-estrogen to compete on the contraceptive market, and tamoxifen was not a contraceptive. As the executives at ICI saw it, the market for cancer drugs would not make them a lot of money, especially in a patient population that suffered from advanced and late-stage cancer, and, you know, we're probably not going to make it very long.
So the team was faced with immense pressure to either produce results quickly, which they feasibly couldn't do without the support of the company, and were additionally reprimanded for looking at anti-cancer research rather than oral contraceptive research. Shortly after a meeting to discuss this, it was proposed that Nolvadex be dropped from development since it was never going to cover the research and development costs and bring appropriate return to the division. The project was officially dropped. However, Dora, Dr. Walpole, and one other team member, Barbara Valcassia, continued the research in secret. The entire tamoxifen project was squeezed into lunch breaks, coffee breaks, and after hours. Dora mainly continued to make the compound, while Barbara and Dr. Walpole did experiments in a small basement room.
So eventually, Dr. Walpole, who was very well respected and a brilliant chemist and biologist, told the ICI that he would pretty much quit if they did not bring back the tamoxifen research. He completely threatened to resign, and the project was actually reinstated. They did bring it back. At this point, the ICI could not morally withdraw away from the drug since the clinical trials were like so positive. No one really knows why the ICI brought back the research, if it really was out of fear of losing Dr. Walpole or because it was like the morally right thing to do. We'll never know. But anyway, in 1972, so 2 years later, after they canceled it, by the way, the research continued, officially continued with the right support. So, with the development of any drug, there are several reasons as to why one drug may or may not make the market. But in the case of tamoxifen, which began as a treatment for women with late-stage cancer and was later approved as a preventative treatment for breast cancer in high-risk patients, the absence of this treatment would have been devastating to so many women who have since benefited from tamoxifen. Tamoxifen was the first targeted therapy for hormone-sensitive breast cancer and shifted treatment away from like broad-spectrum chemotherapy approaches to more precise and specific hormone-based therapies.
So tamoxifen molecules sit on estrogen receptors and block it, basically blocking the hormone stipulation center of cancer. In this way, you target just the specific cancer cells and suppress it and kill those rather than just killing a bunch of cells. So like typically in cancer and in medications in general, it's hard to just be like, I want only for this to affect one teeny tiny part of your body, because like your cells are so, like, there's so much overlap between all of your cells. Like, 99% of your cells are exactly the same, so how do you just target one specific thing? But a lot of different cancers are either super sensitive to specific things. So, like, estrogen would be one. I think, like, different, like, different, like, I don't even know if salinity is one, but specific molecules are really important to some cancer cells. So in this case, breast cancer, estrogen. So if you're like, I'm only focusing on this molecule, that's a really good way to only target just that cancer rather than just killing everything in your body. That's why so many chemotherapy patients are so ill, because like, yes, you're killing the cancer, but you're also low-key killing the patient.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in this way, tamoxifen acts like a key broken off in a lock, and it just, like, stops everything. This minimized the damage to healthy tissues and was a safer alternative. It laid the groundwork for the development of other SERMs and modern endocrine therapies. Dora was not only great with working with medicine, but she was also great at thinking about how medicine could be used in the future. Her and her team were able to look at the drug, realize it wasn't good for fertility rules, but then transform it and use it as something else, which is oftentimes how science comes about. You rarely ever are like, yeah, this is what I want, and it comes out exactly the way you think. It's typically like, you know, the safety pin was designed on accident?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were they trying to make again?
Don't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember that the safety pin was designed on accident, and I think Velcro.
I'm not sure, but that's kind of cool. But yeah, one of the articles I was reading was like, this is where like true genius actually is in terms of science. Like, you make one thing, you're like, oh, this thing sucks, and you could throw it away, or you could look at it and be like, oh my god,
how could I use this?
Right, like anti-cancer, that's pretty genius. But in 1974, just as tamoxifen saw increases in success in patient trials after being launched in the UK, a pharmacologist named Craig Jordan joined the team. To this day, this is the name that is often associated with the drug. His name is often accompanied by this, the father of tamoxifen. Even though he helped play a role in solidifying tamoxifen's place in cancer treatment, he overshadowed the people who had been on the team and the extensive work that they had done for the previous 14 years. He was publishing so much without mentioning the work that Dora or the team had done. He basically was drowning them all out. Craig Jordan would go on to write and speak about tamoxifen for the rest of his entire life. There is no shortage of information about how the drug was brought to market and his role in that success.
It's giving Rosalind Franken.
Yeah.
So the spotlight shifted away from the team that had been pushing the research forward for 14 years before he got there. It's like when someone is like, this is my whole personality now. That's what he did. Mm-hmm. But even though he did have a large role to play in like getting tamoxifen through clinical trials and legal regulatory battles, he like didn't really care to give credit where credit was due. He only mentioned Dora once in a paper on the 50th anniversary of tamoxifan's first clinical trial. He cited her one singular time, calling her a talented organic chemist. And that's literally all the credit she ever received for making this drug and driving the research on it. In the words of her colleagues and teammates, that was very unfair. I would agree. Just because Craig Jordan managed to speak louder and more often, he became often associated with her success.
So, the minimal acknowledgement contributed to the historical erasure of her contributions. The lack of broader contribution compounded over time, and on July 3rd, 2024, 2 years ago, the New York Times, like the New York Times, Sorry, ran out of storage. But yes, the New York Times published his obituary and credited Jordan with the discovery of tamoxifen and its ability to block estrogen-driven tumor growth, only further diminishing Dora's role in its development. What the hell? You're supposed to be like a decent source. But yeah, so despite this, Dora's early work in synthesizing and refining tamoxifen was fundamental to its eventual success, but again, was pretty much erased from history. So in 1980, shortly before her retirement, she documented her contribution in an unpublished paper, The History of Nolvadex. Unfortunately, that document remained largely hidden amongst the company's archives. No clue where it's at, just that it exists.
So tamoxifen is still prescribed and used today. It has evolved from treating advanced stage cancer to becoming standard therapy for early stage hormone receptor positive breast cancer. It was eventually approved to reduce the risk of recurrence after surgery and became the first drug for breast cancer prevention in high-risk patients. Since it was approved by FDA in 1998, it has become one of the most widely used breast cancer treatments across the world. By the mid-1980s, the National Institute of Health recognized it as the treatment of choice for breast cancer due to we ran out of storage again, but basically Nolvadex tamoxifen is like really, really important, and it was described as like choice of treatment for breast cancer due to its ability to prolong life following surgery, and it was later added to the World Health Organization's for essential medicines list due to its accessibility and effectiveness.
So we know very little about her personal life through her career, other than Dora enjoyed gardening, needlework, and had a pet parakeet. She was a lifelong Protestant and a founding member of her local Soroptimist Club, which is like an organization that was dedicated to empowering women through education. Dora passed in 1998. Even though she didn't receive the credit she deserved, she has saved thousands of lives around the world through her development of tamoxifen. That's today's episode.